Live from London, it's Car-Boyz. Yes, we are here. We drink beer. We're not queer. Well, depending on how much beer you give us. Welcome to the show that was built for your radio, but due to the fact that no one listens to the radio anymore, we are on the air across the World Wide Web, like a 21st century town crier, broadcasting with the power of the internet and not a big brass handbell. It's all good this week. We've got an absolute stormer of a car show in our classic car selection, now with added jazz music. It's a car that'll take you back to the heydays of British motoring and probably the halcyon days of motoring as a whole, the late 1960s to early 1970s. It's a car that was sort of designed by Sir Alex Zigonis, but he hated the thing. It is a truly amazing car. We'll be getting that on later in the show. We've got some global car news from Stuttgart to Detroit via Dagenham in the news. And we'll be checking out a couple of cool roads to drive in our Lost Highways feature. And this week, it's Ireland and Russia. Interesting. It's where we pick the best global roads for you to enjoy in your vehicle of choice, be it a Gran Torino or a G-Wiz, although it'd have to be a very short road for the G-Wiz to be able to handle it.
Oh, blimey, gee whiz, that's like a swear word to motorists.
It is a bit, isn't it? Yeah.
Although it seemed to be nothing more than a distant memory, like the Reliant Robin. There's hardly any left on the road. Yes, as Rich said, my colleague, the show is back. The boys are back in town. As like Finn Lizzie said, we're wearing leather and wearing leopard skin for the show. Oh, well, okay, maybe not. We're more like corduroys and cardigans, but that's because we've got no budget at all. This week on the show, we have the great quiz for you. This week, it is electric vehicles.
Oh.
And we've got all the usual stuff in the show. We've got the news that ain't fit to print in the news. This week, we're looking at news from Japan, Germany, and Italy. Yep, that's right. The big three Axis countries there. And we promise not to invade Poland. Shh, don't mention the war. We also got some of the great correspondence from listeners to the show to let you know how we can get in touch later on to the show. So we'll be answering the questions in the mailbag and all the answers you want to know. And as ever, it's large and bulging. Anyway, I'm Simon Sidron. I'm the kind of man who likes to wear high karate aftershave and likes falsettos singing, "When you get down from the way I use my work, I'm a woman's man. No time to talk."
Oh, that's sounding painful. Thank you, Barry BG. And I'm Richard Green. And I was going to clean my room until I got high. I was going to get up and find the broom, but then I got high. My room is still messed up, and I don't know why. Why, man? But hey, because I got high, because I got high, because I got high. An interesting song there, all about working as a steeplejack. And this is Car-Boyz.
Car-Boyz.
Welcome to this show. Welcome to this show. Time for my weekly rant, where I chant poop for a couple of minutes. And it's not just worthless poop, it's valid poop. Poop that other broadcasters just won't touch. This channel and this show are completely gratis free. We don't get paid for this at all. And big companies do not sponsor us. So journalistically, and I use that term very loosely, we are free agents in search of truth and nothing but the truth. So help us Jesus, Allah, Lord Buddha, Osiris, and of course Garuda, the Hindu god who transported Lord Vishnu, and also a dodgy Indonesian airline that's offered that European airspace. Now we had some news out of Parliament. Yeah, they are banned. I think, are they back in at the moment?
They're in and out. They come and go. They often, but that's another story.
We should do some plane news because that might tap your other interests.
It would.
Yes. We've had some news out of Parliament this week. They didn't start with Brex and end in shit. No, we had some news about electric cars. The British government are tabling plans to give all new electric cars green number plates for cars with zero emissions. The plans from the Department of Transport, they've launched a consultation to give special licence plates to cars which conform to the highest environmental standards. This will make them easily identifiable to local authorities who want to promote the use of the zero-emission vehicles through schemes such as allowing drivers to use bus lanes or charging them less for parking. The measure is part of the government's £1.5 billion strategy to clean up road transport. Special number plates have been trialled in Ontario, Canada, with drivers of electric vehicles given free access to toll lanes and high occupancy vehicle lanes, which is nice. The city subsequently saw an increase in electric vehicle registrations. Well, of course they did. Everybody wants a better way to get into work. Let me tell you, First off, there are no cars with zero emissions. All cars have some emissions, some environmental impact. Cars with zero emissions do not exist. They only exist in science fiction, and they are driven by the Jetson family. The only cars, in fact, that don't have any emissions are those driven by Stone Age Hanna-Barbera cartoons, Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble, when they used their feet to propel the cars to the ground. And they still had emissions when Barney or Fred farted in the car. Now, all electric cars cost the environment to produce. They cause massive amounts of pollution when they are made. They use rare earths like lithium that store the power in the car batteries. That's got to be open cast mined out of the ground. This causes lots of environmental damage in places like Canada and China. The shelf life of an electric vehicle is only 15 years, and they also use electricity. Now, here in the UK, 50% of electricity is sourced via natural gas and coal-fired power stations. So the only way electric cars are low emission is at a street level where diesel and gasoline or petrol exhaust emissions have been removed. But, and it's a big but, like Jenny from the block, 50% of electric cars on the road run on electricity powered by burning old dinosaur bones from oil, coal and gas. So if everybody's got an electric car, and I mean everybody, the state is just going to start to tax everybody who doesn't own a petrol car, dumbasses. They don't want to lose revenue. They'll invent another tax for your electric vehicles. So just giving a few on-the-road extras to I used some nice little inversion quotation marks on the road electric extras to electric cars doesn't solve the problem of too many people in cars and not on buses. If the cheap buses are there, people will get on them, but they're not. They're not here in London. They're not cheap. If you don't live in London, then good luck with crappy underfunded public transport into the provinces. But I do have an answer to the whole of this. Norway has got green plates on certain cars. So I'm just going to nip over to Trondheim, buy a couple of these, strap them onto the front of my 8-litre Dodge Viper as I nip into a bus lane and run over small animals. Does that sound like a plan?
That does sound like a plan. So the green number plates, to signify they are what? Environmentally friendly?
Yes.
We posted a picture of this week. So there's, I think, a Toyota that's got like a green number plate from Norway.
No, that was a Norwegian plate I posted. So that's from Norway. So I think Norway give the green ones to things like vans and lorries and 4x4s, so they can get into cities at certain times. They're given another allowance or something, because you obviously, if you need to dig up a road in the centre of Oslo, then you need to be able to get into it. It's like a special permit.
Okay.
It's not about whether the vehicle is low emissions, because I guess a Hilux, diesel Hilux, is not a particularly environmentally friendly car. But it's just to let those cars get into areas where really they're usually not allowed.
We've said this before. It's like a false economy, though, isn't it?
Yes. It's not looking at the big picture, and the big picture is, as we've discussed before, you're still using power to create these vehicles, and the most efficient vehicle in the world is let's say a 5-litre Dodge Viper that I don't drive. That's amazingly green, as long as I don't really drive it. And if I've got amazing public transport, I'll go, well, I'm not going to take the car, because anybody of a certain age, you have to probably be over 50, really. They used to have fares fair in London back in the days of the GLC, late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And they brought the cost of public transport down to such a low level, there were no cars on the road. I've spoken to people, and they said I seem to remember 2p for a child to get on the tube for one journey.
Sounds about right, yeah. Yeah, I can
I can just remember it myself. And so everybody went, well, I'm not getting in the car. People didn't buy cars. Everybody used public transport. You're going to need to. But the problem is they've cut back on so much on public transport. There's hardly any public transport, and it's all being used to the nth degree. So
the infrastructure can't cope.
No, it's not there. I think under the Blair government, under the Labour government, they did a research on it and just said, look, there's nothing we can really do. People are going to have to get into the cars if they want to get from A to B. But yeah, it just sounds token. We'll give you some green number plates, and of course, as you know, as they're starting to do now, some of my colleagues have got really low emission VWs. I think it's a Blue Motion, and they were paying nothing a year for those cars.
Oh, the irony of it.
Now, yeah, exactly. Their emissions in brackets, their emissions. I'm doing my little quotation marks with my fingers again. For those unable to imagine why I'm going emissions. Yeah, emissions. Now that's gone up to £30 a year.
Ooh.
And slowly, electricity in this country is being produced. We are at capacity for electricity production.
Yeah.
At capacity. So how will we increase that? Maybe by burning more oil and gas to create electricity. Well, why don't we just put the oil and gas straight into the cars?
That's a novel idea.
Yeah, but just get people to use the cars less. So anyway, that's my little rant this week. I was going to include it in the news, but I thought no, better off in Rantsville. So I shall now go and find some news with added John Carpenter sound effects. News. It's frantic now.
And first off this week in Autobahn news,
Yeah.
the most famous and probably last bastion of legal speed is safe for another day. After Germany's parliament said "Nein, danke" to plans to enact a blanket 80-mile-an-hour speed limit on its 8,000 odd miles of Autobahn.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes, nearly 80% of the Bundestag, which is the German parliament, if you didn't know, voted against the proposal, which had already been dismissed by the German transport minister, Andreas Scheuer.
Easy for you to say.
I know. The plan introduced by Germany's Green Party mirrors the proposals from the German Federal Environment Agency in 2006, which suggested a blanket speed limit of 75 miles an hour. But both the 2006 and 2019 plans sought to deal with Germany's transportation pollution, which hasn't dropped since 1990. This is despite a target to reduce emissions to 60% of the 1990 levels by 2020. And in spite of tightening emissions restrictions since 1992, for those of you who don't know, that was the Euro 1 legislation, which mandated catalytic converters and unleaded petrol. Since then, there are 5 major revisions, because I think there are on Euro 5, and countless smaller updates. The Euro legislation has held manufacturers to increasingly stringent standards, yet transport pollution in Germany has increased. That's because they're probably all lying about their emissions on their cars.
No emissions to see here. What happened between 1939 and 1945? Nothing! It was a quiet period in the Middle Europa. They're never going to say, yeah, das is good, are they, to speed reductions on the auto?
No.
It's the reason they make fast cars.
Exactly.
Although, from having a relative who served in the British military in West Germany in the 60s, 70s and 80s, apparently, we both have experience of driving on a road in Berlin, but
Yes.
He told me outside the autobahns, local roads are pretty ropey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'd get on a ring road around a town and it's really, really potholed.
Blimey.
But they're not. The police are pretty strict on who can do untold speed on the autobahn. If you get on there in your, a 1.2 Fiat Uno from 1992, they will pull you over and have a go at you and say you can't do that.
I get that.
They'll say it's okay. It's the realm of the
the high performance cars are kind of built to a standard.
Yeah, and they can do 150 comfortably. Oh, look, I'm doing 150. Not that I've ever done that at all. Honestly, you're on.
Yeah, no, I said it's funny because obviously in this country they're trying to lower the speed limit to 20 mile an hour for example, in London, in central London.
Ignored. It's being ignored everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're the mayor of London, ignore it.
I think now, and in America, for our American listeners, I want to say it's Wyoming that you never used to have a speed limit. They've now introduced speed limits.
Okay.
You could do because there's nobody there. I think there's 3 million people in Wyoming, and it's the size.
And a couple of bears.
A lot of bears and wolves. A lot of people going really fast, running away from bears and wolves. Yes. So there they go. If you are Sherman listening to this, carry on driving really fast. Now, moving to in news, eating itself news, British motor magazine Autocar have released a list of the most important cars since the end of World War II. They feature some classics, including the Citroen DS, the Ford Bronco, Ford Fiesta, Mark 1 Range Rover, Toyota Land Cruiser, and Jaguar E-Type. Now, this isn't necessarily the best and most desired cars of each era, but the cars which the journalists at this illustrious magazine felt had an impact on car production or changed the way we see cars. Not all of these cars are brilliant or huge sellers. Some were instead notable for their shortcomings or commercial failure, but they all had something to say about the world they created, and many have resonance and meaning to this day. Now, to be honest, I was hoping for my year would be a Lamborghini Huracan. And maybe for yourself, Simon, slightly younger vintage than myself, a Lamborghini Countach.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
We got Italian cars, not the ones we wanted. I got the Alfa Sud from Alfa Romeo, and this was called the Alfa Sud because it was launched in the south of Italy. There were labour relation problems down there. The car was fabulous, engaging, zesty engine, snappy gear change, and excellent refinement. The first cars had 2 or 4 doors. Hatch wouldn't arrive till 81, by which point most of the earlier cars had rusted away. And yours fared no better. It was a Lancia Delta, but don't get excited. It wasn't the Integrale, which wasn't introduced until 1987. It was the lowly 1.3 and 1.5 litre front-wheel drive. Good enough to win 1980 European Car of the Year. The Delta mixed modern design, courtesy of Giorgetto
Giugiaro. Yeah.
Zesty engines like the Alfa, a reputation to rust north of the Alps. So I had a quick look. You did get the DS is in there. The DS is a superb car. Ford Bronco, Ford Fiesta.
Oh, the Fiesta. Are you talking like the original Bobcat, the little tiny Fiesta, the original one?
Yeah. See, 77 or 78, something like that. And these are all Jaguar E-Type, Toyota Land Cruiser. They're all cars that did have an impact on the way in which we view cars.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say the Range Rover, arguably, I think that was 72, 73.
Pretty much so, but it's the blueprint for all off-roader, soft-roaders, that to this day.
I think maybe Jeep took a look at that and invented the Grand
Cherokee.
Cherokee, the So I think they took a look at that and thought we need to. It's the one in Uncle Buck. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember.
That's a good film. John Candy.
Yeah, is it in Uncle Buck? No, the one when they go to the woods.
I don't know.
He goes to the woods with his family and not Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd's family, and they go and share a cabin in the woods together. It might be called In the Woods or something. It's a Grand. I think it's a Grand Cherokee.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I mean, so these cars are all important. Unfortunately, yes, I had to get the blooming Alfa Sud, which I think is slightly better than a Lancia Delta with a 1.3 engine in it.
With an asthmatic 1.3 engine.
Yes, all rusting to bits.
Just by looking at it.
Yes.
In more car news, can Japanese cars get even smaller news? A new Toyota 2-seat urban electric car and compact urban van will be displayed at the Tokyo Motor Show ahead of the planned on-sale date of late 2020. The as yet an unnamed 2-seater is referred to as an ultra-compact battery electric vehicle and has been designed for, quote-unquote, I'm using your speech marks now, for short-distance travel with limited impact on the environment. It is 2.5 metres long, 1.3 metres wide, and 1.3 metres high, and is built to meet the new microcar regulations in Japan, which is known as e-car rules. With a claimed range of just 62 miles, an extremely tight turn-in radius of 3.9 meters and a top speed of just 37 miles an hour. Now, I could probably walk faster than that. The model is aimed squarely at drivers in built-up urban environments, and more specifically, the elderly. Charging time is a claimed 5 hours from a 220-volt power unit. Akiro Yanaka, head of the development, he listens to the show, says He wants to create a mobility solution that can support Japan's aging society and provide freedom of movement to people at all stages of life. Freedom of movement. That phrase may take up traction somewhere. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
not. Toyota also notes that new models sustainability for newly licensed drivers and city-based mobile businesses. The van is based on similar underpinnings, but with a body designed for greater carrying capacity. So, if you have a look at these cars, they're kind of like windy houses on wheels.
If you went to our Facebook page, you will have seen I
Yeah.
posted the van. The van looks like the Johnny cab from Total Recall. Do you want a cab, sir? I want the cab. Let me drive. And the other one looks like a smart car. It takes a long time to charge. Seems you only get 62 miles out of it.
Yeah, it's
5 hours.
feeble, isn't he? It's 5 hours, 60 something range, top speed 37 miles an hour. No, and something it looks like it weighs the weight of, I don't know, a small rabbit or something.
Yeah, I mean, possibly for urban, it'd have to be really properly central urban environments, wouldn't it? I mean,
It's funny you say that because our quiz is similar to that along those lines.
Okay, I'm going to get excited. It was the Grand Wagoneer was the movie was the car. So it was like it was a Jeep, but the Grand Wagoneer.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to find out what the movie was called. It wasn't Uncle Buck.
Was it a John Hughes film as well? Then in that case, because John Candy did a lot of John Hughes films.
Great Outdoors, 1988. And he drives. I think it might be Dan Aykroyd, the one that drives the Grand Wagoneer. Now they're coming back. They look cool. It's that sort of 70s, 80s. You know, because they're rugged. There's no electronics in them. They go forever. So yes, slightly better than what was it called? What were we calling these Japanese cars?
K cars?
No. Well, they didn't give them a name.
No.
They just
got names. They're unnamed.
Names yet? Okay, I think Johnny Cab for the van anyway. Okay, finally it goes like a scalded rat of a drainpipe news. The Bloodhound, the land speed record-bidding car to set a new supersonic land speed record of around 800 miles an hour in South Africa next year, has been shown in desert spec ahead of a series of high-speed tests. It's the first time the Brit-built car, which was rescued from the administrators earlier this year, has been seen with tireless machined solid aluminium wheels, the ones to be used for the outright record attempt. So I assume it's going across some sort of salt flat. The long proposed testing shakedown will take place, here we go, on a specially prepared 20-kilometre track at Hakseen Pan in the Kalahari Desert near the Namibian border, which I believe is a salt pan. Test the installation of its Rolls-Royce EJ 200 Eurofighter gas turbine engine.
I know the engine well.
Oh my goodness, this is going to go like what's it off a shovel. Last month, they successfully gave it a dry crank at its Gloucestershire H. And we all love a dry crank. This involved having the exhaust output of a smaller jet engine blown into its intake to rotate your moving parts of the main motor. In South Africa, the Bloodhound team spanned a series of 13 months to test speed, aerodynamics and stability, especially a 400 mile an hour plus transition phase when the steering authority delivered by the front wheels rubber grip on the track surface changes and the front wheels become rudder-like aero devices. And of course, this is the problem, isn't it? Once you get above a certain speed, your car and tends to turn into a boat, or plane, I should say, and try and take off. So this is the problem: is creating enough downforce. I do like a land speed record. We've done it. I think the Brits hold the.
It's the Thrust SSC, isn't it?
Yeah, we hold the electric record, and I think with the firm Caterpillar, we hold the.
Is it motorbike one?
It's JCB. It's JCB.
Oh, okay.
We hold the electric one.
Ah.
But I was a kid. I remember the Thrust 1 and Thrust 2. I'm too young for that.
Richard Noble, was it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Of course, Richard Noble, founder of the Noble car fame. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's interesting what we can do. So yes, we'll be. Stay tuned to Car-Boyz for more info on that. And of course, coming up in the show, we'll be asking and answering your questions in our mailbag. If you want to email the boys, you can get in touch with us at Car-Boyz. Car-Boyz, boys with a Z at outlook.com. Car-Boyz, boys with a Z at outlook.com. Facebook, we're Car-Boyz at Car-Boyz, boys with 4 Zs at the end. Twitter us. We don't do this very often, but you can. Car-Boyz, boys with a Z at car_boys, boys with a Z. It's now time for our classic car collection, and hopefully this is going to work. We've got now added jazz music.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Are you wearing a muck and a trilby hat?
I'm actually wearing a beret. I have a small beard, and I'm smoking a gold bar. Oh yeah, man. I'm wearing sunglasses on the inside. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dizzy. I'm trying to shut Dizzy Gillespie off. There he goes. Not sure. We'll continue with that music. It was.
I like that.
And it's time for our classic car selection. The last time the British car industry was on the up, of course, was the 1960s, and the white heat of technology was driving the nation. Who better than to design a new luxury saloon than the man behind the Morris Minor, the man behind the Mini, and the designer of the Maxi, namely Sir Alec Zigonis. He went on to help create a car that was a failure, but now can be lauded as a true classic. In fact, he hated this car so much, he removed himself from the design process totally.
Wow.
Now, this car was produced from 1968 to 1971. It's the 3-litre Austin. And it was BMC's attempt to create a luxury rival to Rover's P5, the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, and, of course, the Jaguar. The Austin saloon that became known as the Land Lobster. Now, previously, Austin had the Austin Westminster, and it was a tough act to follow. It might not have been the last word in performance or refinement, but it was a moderately successful in the UK and certainly epitomised road presence and dignity. The Austin was keen to replace it with a vehicle of a similar ilk, but ended up with a 3-litre instead. It was a design failure, not at least because it saddled itself with a passenger jaws from the 1800 Austin Land Crab, but with a longer bonnet and a shapely longer boot tacked on the end. And the problem is, if you remember the 1800, you look at this and go, this looks weird. That made the 3-litre oddly proportioned. But Ford and Vauxhall were producing equally undesirable big cars at the same time. It wasn't the disadvantage it might have been. A cabin was massive, but at the expense of much of the usual luxury and traditional design. The buyers expected a car of this class. Rear-wheel drive and a 2.9-litre engine shared with the MGC gave reasonable performance and huge tuning potential. But after 3 years in production, British Leyland pulled the plug, leaving Jaguar, Rover and Triumph to build subsequent executive cars. If you pull up next to something like a luxury saloon of today's ilk from Mercedes and Audi, this thing looks positively dainty. In fact, it's almost like the land yacht the UK never had. It is very working class, this car. Its roots are firmly in the proletariat with the 1800, but with a massive 3-litre engine and auto gearbox, with overdrive, it's a working class lad made good. It's a scrap metal dealer who's bought a holiday home in Marbella. It's a second-hand car dealer who's now got a new house with a built-in kitchen. It screams F you to the establishment, and it looks as if it spawned from the meritocracy of the 1960s. And that's possibly why it was a failure. But its failure is your success. These things are still cheap to buy, despite the fact they made only 9,000 cars. But a few buyers beware. Do not go for the estate. That looks really ugly. Fine. And it's an old 1960s British car. Look for rust everywhere. Wheel arches, sills, more importantly, underneath. Now, price-wise, you can buy a serviceable and drivable example with auto. Better to go for the auto than the manual for around £4,000. But splurge up to £8,500. We found a mint example in dark teal, or I think it might be called sage. Full service history, full leather, and sorry, not full leather, full PU. It was pleather, not leather inside. Very little marks on the inside of out, 58,000 on the clock, an absolute minter, one could say. So why not get a classic British Land Lobster that no one else owns. An Austin 3-litre, and you could be king of the road down your way. It's an unusual looking car. I'm very attracted to it. This is why I thought I focused on. I came across this in a classic car magazine, and I thought, I've never seen these. And 9,000 examples made. Yeah, why would you? But yeah, very unusual car.
Because at the
for
time you would
£8,500.
Yeah, because at the time you would have had, what was it, the P5 Rover? Would Ford have been producing? Would it have been the Zephyr and Zodiac at that sort of time, the big Fords?
Just about the end of days for those. The Mark II Jag was, I think, still going. Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, I think it was too expensive. But it was a proper executive car. And like I say, they didn't have leather. They had the pleather on the inside, the PU. But the examples I've seen online, that's lasted longer than leather. I don't know if you've ever found this with older cars. It's actually almost, if you were going to have a car for a longer time, it's actually better to get fabric or the leatherette.
I suppose it doesn't crack and doesn't
crack.
Yeah.
And looking at these cars, very simple cars to work on. Huge boots, absolutely massive boots. And I think I passed one once on the A316 going into London. I think I looked over and went, "What the heck is that?" But nobody else is going to have one. There is an owners club. That's probably the best place to go and buy. Should we do some Lost Highways?
Yeah, let's go for it.
More music on the way. Goes all Sergio Leone on us there. Turn that on. All royalty free. If you are listening from PRI, you can get stuff because we don't have to pay any of it.
Lost Highways, of course. Now, if you haven't heard this show before, where have you been? But this is our feature where listeners email us in and give us their favourite roads and the reasons why they love them. You won't find the North Circular on here at all whatsoever. So should we do our first one?
Yeah.
We've got Oscar writing in from Cornwall, and he says the best road trip he has ever done is in Russia in 2016 from Sochi to the Republic of Adygea. I'm guessing that is.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
You start at the Black Sea and drive to the Caucasus. Caucasus. Okay.
Yeah,
Caucasus.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't go there often, so that's why I don't know. Caucasus Mountain Wilds. This is road trip. It's still epic without being too time consuming. Drive along the coastal road and then up to the mountains. Once you arrive at Adygea, stay near the Belaya River Canyon for its easy trek out to the Rafabogo. I'm guessing that is the Rafabogo Falls. The next day, drive across to Lake Naki Plateau, where you can look out on the snow-capped mountains and sweeping vistas of pristine nature before you take a slow drive back to the coast. Oscar says, he says the wine on the journey was great, but do get used to being stopped and having your passport checked.
Yes, because it's a warm. Sochi's quite warm, isn't it?
Yes.
People assume.
Did they have the World Cup there or the Euro Championships or something recently? I think.
Yes, and the Winter Olympics was there in 2014.
Something like that.
Yeah. And when they were worried that was going to be too warm, because I think it's one of the warmest places in Russia. It's where the rich Russians all go on holiday if they don't want to leave Russia.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was going to get really boring now, but these places you find places like Ukraine have amazing wine. We just don't really know about it. They've not we're too busy drinking Australian and French and Chilean stuff. Or anything in my case. But yes, some of these places are quite interesting. I want somebody to actually, if anybody's listening, can you please write to us about where to drive in Cuba? Because I talked to somebody at a pub a couple of weeks ago, and he hired a car in Cuba, which I didn't think you could do. And he said it was amazing driving all over Cuba because there's nobody else in cars. The locals don't have cars. So I said, well, what did you have? He said it was some awful little Yugo that they hired. I didn't even realise you could. I thought you had to get a local to drive you round in one of those big 1950s Cadillacs with a Lada engine in it. And he said, no, you could still hire cars. And him and his wife hired a Yugo and drove all over. But he said that there's nobody on the highways and you're doing 50 miles an hour. I think you're doing 100 because your sense of perspective is you're going
there's
faster
nothing else
than people
around,
on
is there?
foot. Yeah, you
Yeah.
overtake the odd bus. So please, if anybody's listening, please write to us about where you could go in Cuba. Yeah, interesting. I think Russia is a potential. That sounds like I suppose you could do it the other way round and go from the Republic of Adygea down to Sochi and have a beach holiday.
Yeah, that's a useful, interesting one. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
where have we got?
Thank you, Oscar.
Yes, we're over to Ireland now with Lorcan. Hello there, Lorcan. He gets in touch from Dublin and tells us a great driving road is Connemara Mountains via Cashel and V Pass. 240 kilometres in total. The scenic drive is known as the Munster Vales. It covers Tipperary. Long way to go, that. I'm here all week, twice on Sundays. Waterford, where my family are all from. Cork and Limerick. And as they said, there once was a girl from Ealing who had a peculiar feeling, but I digress. Taking a week to complete all stops, be sure to check out the Connemara Mountains, the banks of the River Suir, I probably pronounced that wrong, sorry if you are listening in Southern Ireland, the ancient walled town of Fatard, the famous rock of Cashel, the V Scenic Mountain Pass, heritage town of Lismore, and the seaside town of Dungarvan, where you can unpack your car and enjoy the sunset and have a few pints of the old black stuff there. And I imagine you'd probably have a few pints of the old black stuff every single morning. So that sounds fantastic.
It does.
I've briefly driven around Ireland, and it was a long, long time ago. The roads were awful.
Were they?
I'm talking 30 years ago. I imagine the roads aren't that bad. As soon as you got out of Dublin, the roads were really bad. And I would never buy it. If you're in England, I would never buy a car with an Irish plate because you don't know where it's been driven in the West Country. If it's been driven in the West Country, it'll have dents all under the underside. Honestly, and scrapes and all sorts. I talked to a car dealer once about that. He said, "Oh, did you look at that car the other day?" And I said, "Yeah, that one with the Irish plate." Because Hyundai had a different brand name in Southern Ireland.
Oh, okay.
Like Ventura or Ventura. And I was looking at a Hyundai Coupe with the 2.9 semi-automatic gearbox. And he said, no, you shouldn't buy anything from Southern Ireland because you don't know where it's been driven because some of the roads are so bad. Just in case the point, not to say, but that sounds like a cool road. That sounds like you could have some fun. Maybe in the summer, not now. If you think
weather's a bit rubbish now.
Yeah, whatever it's like in England, it's twice as bad in Southern Ireland. But please continue to get in touch. Email us the lost highways that you like to check out at car-boys@outlook.com. Email us car-boys@outlook.com. I believe we've got some. Here we go. Usual correspondence. It's this week's Car-Boyz post bag.
Ooh.
And as usual, it's bulging with mail and throbbing. Okay, first up, Carl in Dusseldorf. Hello. He writes to the show. He'll be able to still drive at well over 100 miles an hour. He wants to buy a classic Mercedes. Which decade should he go for? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Ooh. I think the most stylish era for Mercedes was probably the 60s. Because you had, what was it, the Gullwing? Gullwing's a beautiful car.
The Coda is, although he'd better have some hefty cheese, a lot of cheese, because that is, the Pagodas now are 40, 50 plus. And the Gullwing, well, you need about $250,000.
Yeah, probably.
The Pagoda, though, is a beautiful car. They are built like tanks. They don't really rust. I haven't seen one for a long time. Apparently, the gear change is sublime. They're not fast. They do 0 to 60 in about 10 seconds. But it is apparently a lovely car to drive.
But so stylish. So stylish.
Pagoda's nice. It could go for a W123, 70s, 80s car.
Yeah.
W124 is your what you think of when you think of a diesel Mercedes from the 80s and 90s. I like the 500 SL from the 90s. I think is an emerging classic. Maybe like a 95 model pillarless coupe.
The SLK.
Yeah,
the little tiny one.
No, the bigger one. The big one.
Ah, the shoulder pads one.
Yes.
Not the shoulder pads one.
Yes, the shoulder pads one. You remember we did that filming? That's the one we filmed.
Oh, yeah,
That's
right.
I think that was a 93 or 94. That was the
Mm,
big one, 500 SL.
that's the one, yes.
Yeah, with the sloping front nose, it looks a proper gangster's car. And I would have said
Beautiful car.
10 years ago, ugly thing. Now, I think now's the time to get in. You got to watch out for rust on all of these. I had a friend that had a W123 4-door diesel from the mid-70s, which should have been bulletproof, and it was rotten from the floor up.
Ooh. Was it expensive? Did they fix it?
Yeah, I think he sold it. I think a lot of plastic padding and some reloading, and then he got rid of it because it was a basket case. So you want to, if you can find a car from somewhere like, he's Germany, so he's not going to worry about parts. Mercedes, by the way, Carl, will look after all. They still make all parts for all Mercedes.
Really?
Yes, that is not a problem. Mercedes will look after you. You are not going to have a problem finding parts.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I watched Jay Leno's car. He's got a couple of, I think it was either a Grosser or he has something that's very, very old. And Mercedes still make the parts for these things. It was the Grosser because I think they have, the boot lid is everything's pneumatic in them.
Yeah,
everything's based on the windows are pneumatic. They're not electric.
Yeah.
So you've got all these hoses everywhere. Merc will still make all that stuff. So that's not a problem. If it was me, I'd be looking at South Africa. I'd be looking at not Malta because they drive on the correct side, not the German side. And I would be looking at the southern United States for a car from somewhere like Arizona, California.
Dry.
Very, very dry
States.
Utah.
Yeah.
Or, like I said, South Africa, if you could find something down there, maybe Australia. No, Australia, again, it's not going to suit you. But, take your pick. Take your pick.
Good, cool. Great question there, Carl. Also in the mailbag, in the email this time, it's June from Cobham. She says she wants a car for 6 weeks for her friend who's visiting from the States. Should you rent one or buy one? That's an unusual question. What are we thinking?
We had a look, didn't we? And we found an Enterprise and Sixt car rental agencies. You're going to cost you £700.
Yeah.
You could always buy a car for £700 and then sell it at the end, but then you've got to tax it.
Yeah, and it will start to add up, wouldn't it?
You're going to be saddled with this car. Then you've got to tax it. So say that's going to cost another couple of hundred minimum. So that takes you to 900.
Go for rental.
No, we'll say say you tax. You're going to get your tax money back. I think that's looking like £1,000. I think you'd be safer off. But why don't you just hire a car when you need it, and the rest of the time, Enterprise. The streetcar. Do you have streetcar up in North London?
No, I don't think we do.
So we used to have streetcar here, which has now been bought out by the Enterprise Group, where you literally they will give you the location of where the car is, and you can hire the car for 2 hours, and then you return it to that location.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah,
a friend of mine that was very environmentally friendly and annoying, who lived in Tooting. He used to rent a car. He used to use streetcar for his shopping every week, so it cost him like £12 or something.
So these are one of those car club things, isn't it?
That's right, exactly. Yeah. It's been bought by rental company Enterprise now, own it.
Really?
Yes. So they do it with vans and all sorts. I mean, I had a look online. Cobham there's a train station, there's buses.
It's very well connected, isn't it?
So I would do that and then think, I really want to go and see my friend in Yorkshire. I want to go away for the weekend and just hire the car. Yeah. I mean, I hired a van the other day, a big old Mercedes Sprinter from Enterprise for 24 hours for about £48.
That's really good.
Yeah. And I just had to put the diesel in it. Unlimited mileage. So I think you could probably best way to do it, find a friend, maybe a neighbour that doesn't mind you putting them on as a named driver. So you'll pay the insurance, and find maybe a family, a relative, or somebody's got or somebody that doesn't mind you borrowing got a spare car you can use, or just steal one. Tom from London.
No,
we're not
we do
advising
not
that.
advise
No
that.
steel
No.
cars. No steel cars. If you're going to go for a really old 80s one. You'll get into those easy. So I've heard. Tom from London says he's only got a very small place to park his car on. It's a
That's
tiny
because he
space.
lives in London.
That's because he lives in London. Welcome to the capital. A tiny place between a house and a garage. It's 2 meters by 3 meters. What should he buy? And don't say dinky car.
Oh, dear.
Dodge him.
2 meters by 3 meters. What's in that category? There's nothing really. You're talking rubbish vehicles.
Just
a bubble car.
Bubble car, smart car. A smart car will just about get in there. I'm hoping it's the length. I don't know whether you actually get out of the doors. Would you be able to? Right, he hasn't specified this, but if you could open the door, say it's a space and there's a garden on one side or another parking space on the other side, that's going to be fine. But if it's actually between two walls, you're going to have to push it in every night and then pull it out, aren't you?
So then something so small, you probably could. I don't know. That's really, between a house and a garage. That's tiny.
Yeah, but it could be a garden. It could. Do you see what I'm saying? It could be. He could have a garden and then the space and then the garage, or even another space in front of the garage. So if it's got nothing either side of the space, means you can open the doors and get out. But if you have a wall either side, you're buggered. Sinclair's 5.
Yes, environmentally friendly. It's green. It's electric. Well, battery powered. So
motorbike.
Or yes, motorbike could do that.
Honda Fireblade, CBR 1000, or those awful BMW.
Just get a Vespa.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Tom, get one just a twist and go 50cc scooter. Because then, if you pass your test before, was it 2003? You don't have to take a
CBT test and all that.
Is it CRB? CBT, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't CRB for checking whether you've got...
It's police.
You don't have to take a criminal... Well, no. I mean, if you pass before 2003, you just bang L plates on it and off you go.
Yeah.
And maybe that is the answer. Or a smart car. It's tiny, isn't it?
Tom, I think get a Vespa. It's quite cool. It's London. Putting it around town.
I think that sounds like the thing. And then when you need a car, just call an Uber.
Yes.
There you go. Vespa would be good. Do you know what? Actually, if you look online, there are some really cute little periodly designed by Japanese. I tell you who's come out. A Japanese company have bought the... and I saw one of these the other day, and I got really excited at a place I was working, and I thought it was an original. Do you remember AJS? It was a British motorbike company that I think went bust in the 60s.
It rings a bell.
They made bicycles in the early part of the 20th century, and then they got into motorbikes, and they are beautiful looking motorbikes. Well, a Chinese company have bought the brand name, and they are producing modern bikes, but with the design of the 50s, the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And they do a 50cc in what looks like a cafe racer. And I went, oh, that looks cute. Really cute. You can imagine yourself doing a ton down the M1. Well, you wouldn't be able to on a 50cc motorbike, but you get it's that sort of mods and rockers, AJS logo. Beautiful little bike outside where I was working. That's what he wants.
And Japanese. It should be reliable.
Chinese, but it'll be more reliable than the 1960s. Yeah, I think this thing was even twist and go. I don't even think there were gears on it. It's real fakery, but
that's all good. Let's do it. Last one. Let's do one from Andy in the Loire Valley. Writes to us, and he says he loves living in France, but says new French cars are actually awful.
But he's not wrong, though, is he?
Yeah, he wants to know if there's a French classic car we would recommend.
Good luck. Well, look. Okay, hang on. Look, French people used to make good cars.
Yes.
But they haven't made good cars for 20 years. They've made crap that falls to bits. Utter crap. I had an 80s Citroen AX. You couldn't kill it. I drove a BX for work.
Right.
It was the saloon.
Yes.
Could not kill that car. We had an estate version. Was it the DX? CX estate.
CX, yes.
You look
Like
at
a woodlouse, that was.
Yes. And it slowly rose.
Yes.
You had to start it and you had to wait for the glow plugs to heat up, which took 5 hours. Turn the key, glow plugs went, the light of the glow plugs went off. Start it, and then the thing would slowly rise
Like,
onto the hydraulic suspension, and you'll be wafted down the road. That was a good car. Citroen
big
DS.
Citroens were good.
Yeah, Citroen DS is a beautiful car. If you have the money, the Maserati SM, the Citroen and Maserati combined is an amazing looking car. Traction Avant, which they produced from the 1930s up to the 1950s, early 1960s. Beautiful, solid car. Best-selling French car of all time. Not 2CV, which is, I wouldn't buy a bloody 2CV. They're rot boxes. We talked about this last week. It's just a nightmare to have one of those. Renault 4. Do you know what? I would say? And this is, I would say Andy. I'm assuming it's not Andy. I assume he's English. He lives in the Wye Valley. He's retired. To go and buy, I would say a Renault 4. Like a real late one, like a H-Reg Renault 4. Agricultural, they got 1.2 or 1.4 litre engine, but you can flatten all the seats and turn it into a people carrier.
Yeah, good idea. Bit of versatility there.
What do you think? Yeah? Any other ideas?
No, I did like some of the old French sports cars. So you had like the Renault Fuego. That was quite. That was like
Lada Fuego.
Poor man's Porsche.
Yes. You gotta be careful because didn't it have it had this weird round rear window?
Yes.
And I think if you bust that, you wrote the car off because it was so expensive to replace.
Yeah, the Fuego.
And I think the Fuego also had bits of Rover on it or something. It had something that wasn't entirely French. There was some weird axle that came off a Rover SD1 or something bizarre. I did have to forget, Peugeot made great cars. If he wants a classic that's fast, 205 from the 80s, half leather, 1.9.
Yes, GTI, 205 GTI.
Yes, there you go. Or he could go
much
a
fun.
1.5 205 diesel, which will go from now until, the end of time. Lots of choice.
Absolutely. Andy, hopefully that sorted it out for you. Yeah, they do. Old French cars good, new French cars not good at all.
He's right. He's correct. Now, of course, email the boys at carboys@outlook.com, and we will endeavour to get your questions answered badly or, well, they'll be answered anyway. So it's car-boys, boys with a Z, @outlook.com. Would you like some music?
Yes, please.
I
love this music.
Here we go.
Dun, 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 dun.
There you go.
Hey! So it's the Car-Boyz quiz. On Car-Boyz, we like to talk a lot about electric vehicles.
Oh, we love it. We love electric vehicles.
And how good or sometimes bad they are. But in the real world...
What's this sound an impression of? Early on in the morning, hang on. Milk float?
Yes. The cleanest of, see, we've been doing electric vehicles really well for years. But how good are electric vehicles? This week, the quiz looks at a range of some of the best-selling electric vehicles and the electric versions of cars that are currently available. And all our contestant Richard from South West London has to do is tell us if the vehicle can make it to its destination or not on a single charge of electric power. This is great fun. So we'll be using the official tests of the EV figures.
I was going to say, not me driving.
No, for the range.
2 miles down the road.
And all the distances are measured from London, since we are the centre of the universe.
Of course.
If you're somewhere else in the world listening to this, what these are some of the UK's best-known towns and cities. So eyes down, look in. Number 1, on a journey from London to Middlesbrough, can a Hyundai Kona electric vehicle make the 251-mile journey on a single electric charge.
I followed one of it. I followed a Hyundai Kona the other day, and
Yes.
with distaste. It was driven very slowly by a very elderly gentleman. There was a lot of swearing going on in the car. Okay. 254. I'm going to say they reckon it can.
Bing is the right answer. It can. It has a range of 279 miles. So the 36,000 pound Hyundai has 28 miles of charge left to spare. So
Good
well
luck.
done.
Good
Number
luck.
one. Number two. On a journey from London to Edinburgh, can the Tesla Model S make the 403-mile journey?
No. I'm going to say no.
That's a definite no. Bing!
Yeah.
At 345 miles, it doesn't have the range, and the 77,000 pound Tesla falls 58 miles short. So, well done.
There you go.
2 out of 2 so far. Number three, on a journey from London to Birmingham, you know the trip very well.
Yeah, done that.
Can a Ford Focus electric vehicle travel the 117-mile journey on a single charge?
I would hope so. So I'm going to say yes.
Ford Focus, everyone's got one.
Yes. It's got to, hasn't it? It's got to. Otherwise, yeah.
Is
Really?
the wrong answer. It can't.
Really?
The electric version of the Focus only has a range of 115 miles, making it 2 miles short of its journey.
You'd be in the Birmingham area. You'd be in Solihull. You just have to walk into the city centre the last 2 miles. My goodness, you'd be in Perry Bar. It'd be fine.
Yeah,
Oh
okay.
my goodness, that's appalling.
Yes.
That's appalling.
Only a range of 115 miles. So,
Right.
nil point on
Okay.
that one. Number four, on a journey from London to Liverpool, we do like Liverpool, can a Jaguar I-Pace, which is a lovely vehicle, make the 212-mile journey up north?
And then have its wheels stolen at the end. 212 Jaguar I-Pace.
Yes.
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna try and say yes.
Bing is the right answer.
Okay.
It can, as costs 64,500 miles and has a range of 292 miles.
Sorry, it costs £64,500.
Yes.
You said miles.
Mm.
Okay.
Number five, on a journey from London to Sunderland, up north, can the Mercedes EQC, which is their electric vehicle, make the 276-mile journey?
I'm going to say no.
Is that just an educated guess or just a wild guess?
It's a wild guess. I knew somebody that was trying to buy one of these for their dad, and he lived in Bromley, and he was only going to go in the Bromley area. It's based on that.
Well, you're right. Bing! It can't make the journey. The Merc has a range of 259 miles.
Right. Okay.
And also costs £65,000.
God. And it's effectively worthless after about 10 years.
Yes.
Because technology is advancing so fast. All of these things, I looked up the cost of a G-Wiz.
Yeah.
About £1,000 for a 12-year-old G-Wiz.
But the batteries probably don't have much charge.
He had to replace it with a new battery. Oh, it's 34 miles or something. It's ridiculous. Sorry. Go on.
Dear. So number six, on the journey from London to Newcastle. So we moved down the road from Sunderland to Newcastle. Can a Tesla Model 3 long range, it's called the long range version, make the 282-mile journey from London?
Yes. In Tesla, I have a 300-mile radius in my mind with the Tesla S, but I'm going to say yes.
Bing, see, there you go. This is why you're on Car-Boyz. The Model 3 absolutely has a range of 345 miles, so absolutely right. Number seven, on a journey from London to Norwich, where, of course, Sale of the Century came from, can the Peugeot Ion make the 117-mile journey?
Peugeot Ion.
Peugeot Ion, it's an electric vehicle.
117.
117 miles. Can it make the journey?
If Nicholas Parsons was here, I would ask. He wouldn't know the answer. I'm going to say yes. Let's go. Let's have confidence in Peugeot.
Is the right answer. The Peugeot only has a range of 93
Oh,
miles.
for goodness sake! Right,
So you would
okay.
have 24 miles left to walk. So
Or a long
incorrect.
extension lead.
On a journey from London to Cardiff, which is
Yeah,
150 miles away,
yeah.
the Nissan Leaf, can it make that journey on a single charge? 150 miles away,
No,
London to
I
Cardiff.
don't think it can.
Oh, no. It's the wrong answer.
Really?
It actually has been upgraded and has a
Ah,
range of 239 miles, so
I was
it
going
can
to say, I
comfortably
don't
do
think
that.
the original Leafs could, but there you go.
Mm,
Okay.
yes. Number 9. On a journey from London to Manchester, which is 200 miles away, BMW's offering the i3. Can it make that journey 200 miles away, London to Manchester,
Oh,
BMW i3?
I don't think it can. I don't think it can.
Bing is the right answer. It can't make it. It only has a range of 193 miles. So again, you're 7 miles short
Yeah,
from getting to
brilliant.
Manchester.
The only time
Uh,
I've ever seen that car is in London. I've
yes.
never seen it outside London.
It makes no sense
No,
outside London. It probably can't make it outside London.
no.
That's why. 2 more to go. On a journey from London to Leeds, which is up north, if you
Yeah.
don't know where Leeds is, can the plucky Renault Zoe make the 195-mile journey? 195 miles away.
No, I don't think it can. I think that's too far.
Bing is the right answer. The Zoe only has a range of 175 miles, so that would leave you 20 miles from home.
It'd get you to Doncaster, though, wouldn't it?
And then you have to wait hours
Oh,
for the
what
car
would
to
you want
charge
to
up.
be? I'm just going to have a stop off in Doncaster, a fight. Yeah, so it's not going to get you to Central Yorkshire, just to South Yorkshire. Okay.
And the last one, on a journey from London to Carlisle, so good they named Belinda after it. Can the £82,000 Tesla Model X long range make the 315-mile trip?
Ooh. I would have said no, but it's Tesla. It's long range, 315. We've already know that the other Tesla 3 long range can do 350. I'm going to say yes.
Bing is the right answer.
Hey.
It has exactly a range of 350 miles, so you've got to pray there's no traffic.
and not bring any fat people. I'd like to take you, Uncle Tony, but you're 17 stone, so bugger off and get the bus.
So there you go.
And wear your light shoes.
But you've got to gently stroke that pedal. Gently stroke it. So we got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so you know what? You can have the checkbook and pen.
Yay! Do I get the speed? It's great because I live in a terraced house in Rochdale. So do I get the speedboat?
Yes, it's an electric speedboat as well. So
Oh,
water and electric, always good.
fantastic! Yeah, I'm not electric submariner, so it'll go well with that. You know.
Our final thought is, of course, electric cars. There you go. It still has. They still have a long way to go.
Well,
they can't even match our
biggest.
Of
most of them. They've got just a short way to go. But yeah, you're correct. I think it's going to happen. It is happening. I think we are holding back the tide of electric. It is going to eventually happen everywhere because I agree on a local level. Pollution. I mean, I live on a. You probably can't hear. I live on quite a major road in my little quiet area of London, and yeah, it would be nice not to have to. What it won't stop is the brake dust that I constantly wipe off the ledges of my front window. It won't stop the brake dust, but it might stop the levels of diesel and gasoline pollution. They've still got a long way to go. You need a car that can charge. I would say within 15 minutes.
The worrying thing, if you want to do a journey of at least 300 miles and you're looking, the only real option is the Teslas.
Yeah.
But they're going to cost you upwards of 60, 70, 80,000 pounds. So
it's silly money. And I think most Teslas that I see, they all seem to be dropping off the children at the private school round the corner. State school where my children go. Yes, that's about it. You can email the boys. I'm gonna go and try and drive my electric speedboat down on Thames later on. You can email the boys at car-boys@outlook.com, car-boys@outlook.com. We'll be endeavour to respond to all your emails. Facebook, car-boys at Car-Boys, boys with 4 Zs, car-boys at Car-Boys, boys with 4 Zs. Twitter is car-boys with a Z, at car_boys Boys with a Z. That's it from us. Off to do anything exciting this evening, Simon?
Oh, not this evening, but the weekend got some radio awards coming up, so that's all good. Not for this show. We haven't been
Well, next
nominated
year.
for. Yes,
next year. And I'm just going to go to the pub. I don't think my wife knows. I'll go and break the news. Get lost, get alive. Ta-ta.